that's big trouble for them.
You've said a lot about South Africa in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's hosting the G20 summit this year. Are you planning to attend this, or are you skipping it and telling your cabinet to not?
Well, we'll see what happens, but the South African situation is very, very dangerous and very bad for a lot of people. There's tremendously bad things going on, including the confiscation of property, and worse, much worse than that. You know what I'm talking about. And we're not making any payment until we find out what's going on in South Africa. Yes, please.
What's next for
Things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
My people, we need to talk. We need to talk. Out of nowhere, President Donald Trump of America decides that South Africa is a human rights violator. From nowhere. So he says that, he also goes ahead and stops US aid to South Africa. Why? Interesting. We'll discuss that in today's episode. And now, on top of that, he wants to get South African white farmers from South Africa and take them as refugees in America. Interesting. Right now, as we speak, Trump is busy deporting lots of illegal migrants from America. Think about it. But now, he wants to bring in white South African farmers to America to settle them there as refugees. Very interesting. Why? Why? We will discuss that today. Okay. This one smells fishy. The whole business here smells fishy. Let's break it down on the African Dad Reacts channel. The channel that breaks down current global events and brings them to you. Behind today's story of sanctions against South Africa is a lot of politics, a bit of business, and of course, there is Elon Musk. Elon Musk meddling and meddling and meddling. Let's dive straight into it.
Now, the American President Donald Trump has signed an executive order freezing financial aid to South Africa, escalating tensions between the two nations. Donald Trump claims that this move is in response to South Africa's new land law that allows for land seizures without compensation in certain cases, and also its international court case accusing Israel of genocide. The order further states that the United States cannot support the government of South Africa's commission of rights violations and will withhold assistance as long as these unjust and immoral practices continue. Elon Musk, a close Trump advisor, and also a South African-born, American-naturalized billionaire, has criticized the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, calling the law to be openly racist. Ramaphosa has not yet commented on the aid cut, but has previously defended the land reforms policy, saying that no land had been confiscated and the goal was equitable land access. The White House has also announced plans to resettle South African farmers and their families as refugees, prioritizing humanitarian relief for the Afrikaners. And Trump's order also cites South Africa's aggressive positions against the United States and its allies, including its case against Israel at the International Court of Justice and growing ties with Iran. On Sunday, Donald Trump warned on Truth Social that he would cut funding to South Africa until a full investigation was completed. He later accused South Africa's leadership of doing terrible, terrible things. Meanwhile, Ramaphosa spoke to Elon Musk in an attempt to diffuse tensions, reaffirming South Africa's commitment to justice, fairness and the rule of law. And our correspondent Calvin Ongmu has sent us this report from Johannesburg. Listen in.
Land, land and more land. This is what started the war of words between Washington and Pretoria. US President Donald Trump on Friday signed a formal executive order against Pretoria. South African government took note of the latest executive order and said it's of great concern that the foundational premise of the order lacks factual accuracy and fails to recognize South Africa's profound and painful history of colonialism and apartheid.
So, Trump wakes up and takes his usual breakfast of tweets and chaos. And suddenly, South Africa is enemy number one. Element number one, according to its executive order, America cannot support South Africa because of human rights violations. Really? Interesting. My friends, have you ever seen Trump concerned about human rights? I've never seen that before. It's the first time. Why is he so concerned about the South African farmers he wants to take as refugees in America? And just like that, American aid South Africa is frozen. Trump froze it. But wait, he didn't stop there. Trump did not stop there. Trump now wants to bring South African white farmers, the Afrikaneers, to the US as refugees. This sounds less like humanitarian aid and more like a political chess move. Now, let's get into the root of the matter. South Africa has been debating a land reform law that allows the government to take land without compensation in very specific conditions. Who owns most of farmland in South Africa? White farmers, by design. Who is against this land reform law and why? Let's find out. Even after apartheid ended, more than 30 years ago, 70% of farmland in South Africa is owned by white South African farmers, despite them being only 7% of the population, approximately. The government is trying to fix this through the Expropriation Act that was recently passed in Parliament and made into law. The law aims to redistribute this land back to black South Africans. Of course, you know this land belonged to the black South Africans in the first place. A few days after this law was passed, boom, Trump came on TV and threatened sanctions against South Africa. Okay. Threatened sanctions against South Africa. Why? Okay. Trump was not happy about the fair distribution of land in South Africa. Trump says the land law that was recently passed was completely unjust and immoral, and has decided to punish South Africa by cutting all aid to South Africa. In fact, right now, South Africa is being treated like worse than China. What it has not mentioned is that the new Expropriation Act allows the government to compensate landowners and only forcefully take the land from them if there's no agreement, or if the land has not been used, the land has been fallow, not being used for many, many years. In that case, the government is allowed to forcefully take the land from the farmer without any compensation. But most of the times, the government actually compensates the farmers. Compensate the farmers by giving them money. What do you think? What do you think? Is this really about justice? What is Trump after? What is Trump after? Is this really about justice? Is Trump justified in punishing South Africa concerning this land law? So what do you think? Is this really about justice? Or is there another hand pulling the strings in this case? It's very, very interesting that the first world leader to visit Trump in the Oval Office is none other than Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. And what happened immediately after his meeting with Netanyahu was very interesting. Immediately after the meeting, Trump cut all aid to South Africa. You see, South Africa and Israel have had a complicated relationship due to historical reasons. South Africa has previously criticized Israel over Palestine. You know what's been going on in Palestine for the last 1.5 years? Okay, where Israel has invaded Palestine and basically flattened most homes in Palestine. You look at pictures of Gaza, and its buildings are basically all down. So Israel, in return, doesn't mind making life difficult for South Africa. And after the meeting between Netanyahu and Trump, these sanctions, the cutting off of aid took place. Coincidence? I don't think so. And then, after the meeting of Trump and Netanyahu, we also have South Africa's favorite billionaire, the richest man in the world. Who is the richest man in the world? South African-born Elon Musk. Now, according to some people, he's become the cabinet secretary of everything in America, everything. He's the cabinet secretary, the new ministry called DOGE, D-O-G-E. But why is Elon Musk suddenly interested in policies taking place in South Africa? Could it be that he has personal connections? We know that Elon Musk is South African. He was born in South Africa, he's schooled in South Africa. He only left South Africa after he was 18 years of age. What influence has Elon Musk had on Trump so that Trump has come out so strongly against South Africa? Or is Elon Musk simply bored and looking for another Twitter fight? So, in all this, what was the response from South Africa? The president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, did not take it lightly. He responded almost immediately.
Morning after, of course, the State of the Nation address, the president last night issuing a strong response to the United States President Donald Trump, insisting that South Africa will not be bullied and will defend its national interests and sovereignty. Ramaphosa directly addressed Trump's recent claims that certain groups in South Africa were being mistreated. This, of course, followed the president's signing of the Expropriation Act, which has sparked international debate.
We are witnessing the rise of nationalism, protectionism, the pursuit of narrow interests, and the decline of common cause. This is the world that we, as South Africa, a developing economy, must now navigate. But we are not daunted to navigate our path through this world that constantly changes. We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied. We will stand together as a united nation, and we will speak with one voice in defense of our national interests, our sovereignty, and our constitutional democracy. By standing true to our values, by harnessing our unique strengths and endowments, and by forging a common purpose, we can turn these trying circumstances to our advantage and propel our country forward.
Okay? He basically told Trump to stay in his lane. And honestly, I agree with Ramaphosa. I've never heard of a US president coming to talk about small issues that take place in countries all over the world. Why South Africa? So, if Trump really cared about South Africa that much, how come he has been quiet about the poverty taking place? There's so much poverty in South Africa. And such poverty amongst especially the black people. Why has he never come out to talk about that? Take South Africans become refugees in America. Unemployment is a problem in South Africa now. Why has he never talked about this? Why is talking about only when there's talk about land distribution in South Africa? The moment land reform is mentioned, he's suddenly there. Why? So, what's my take on all this? On Trump and the South African saga. This isn't just about South Africa, it's about power, politics, and money. President Trump is simply playing politics to his base. Some American conservatives believe that white South African farmers are being persecuted. I wonder how, as a black African, I wonder how they're being persecuted. These people own 70% of the farmland in South Africa. 70%. They took this land from South Africans. How are they being persecuted? What is wrong with this land being shared well between the blacks and the whites? I'm not against the whites, South Africans. If anything, I've got a number of South African white friends, white South Africans, who have been friends of mine, and I've worked with them in different places. They're good people. What do you think? What do you think about Trump coming into South African small business that they're trying to sort out their country? Netanyahu is protecting Israeli interests. I don't blame him. By the way, I've always liked Israel. Okay? But here, when he's touching with South Africa, I think he's trying to hit back on South Africa because of what South Africa did, took them to ICC. South Africa took Israel to ICC and they were reprimanded there. I think he said, no, these people have to be taught a lesson. So he's got to make a point. So that is who Netanyahu. What about Elon Musk? We have said Elon Musk has a South African background. The richest man in the world. We cannot ignore him. He's the richest man in the world. And Elon Musk? Well, Elon Musk is Elon Musk. Okay? You saw him, even he gave the Nazi salute. Okay? In one of the rallies that he had with Trump. That's Elon Musk. And what about South Africa? South Africa is in the middle of all this. I wish South Africa, well, both the blacks and the whites, I wish they could sort out this mess of the land issue amicably so that the South Africans can live happily with the white and black. As far as I'm concerned, those white South Africans, their home is there. Their home is not where they came from 300 years ago. No. They are South Africans. So South Africa as a country, I think, should find a way of molding this blacks and whites to live amicably side by side. Is this possible? What do you think? I want you to write in the comment section what you think about all these things that we're discussing. Is it right for the white South Africans to own 70% of the land? Is it right for the government to come with this expropriation act so as to distribute the land from whites to blacks? Do you think there's a better way of doing it? Okay? Please, if you have suggestions, if you agree with what I'm talking about today, please comment. If you think I'm wrong on what I'm talking about here, please tell me. I like to be educated. I believe I'm not an expert on South African issues. Please teach me, educate me. Write your comments there. But don't forget to press the like button. Okay? Press the like button, write your comments, and do what? Subscribe. When you subscribe, next time when there will be another video, you'll automatically be notified about it. Thank you so much for being with me till the end. See you next time.